Welcome to Community Talk, a public affairs presentation of the MSA United Way and Super Talk 1270. Now your host, Jena Gullo.
Welcome. Thank you for tuning in to Super Talk 1270. I am Jena Gullo, the MSA United Way Executive Director, and co-hosting with me today, Mr. Scott Hansen from United Way.
Good
Hi,
morning.
Scott.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks for helping out. Thanks for coordinating all these shows, and a special thank you to Town Square Media for donating this airtime. Every other Tuesday, you can find us right here talking about community issues that are important to you. If you do have suggestions, topics, comments, or questions, Scott, where do they go?
There are a bunch of ways. You can give us a call, 255-3601. Find us on Twitter at MSA United Way. We're also on Facebook, facebook.com/MSAU Way.
Well, what's really neat is that Scott posts a lot of the community needs on our Facebook page, so make sure you like us or share those needs, because many times there's going to be school counselors that will call us up. They might need a winter coat. Right now, we've adopted Saxvik Elementary. Our Women's Leadership Circle is collecting in-kind donations for them every single month at a different business. It's just outstanding, the work of the volunteers of United Way. And speaking of, we have two wonderful volunteers that are joining us in studio today with the annual campaign in full swing. It was pretty interesting. I did not know. I've presented to over 1,200 people in the community so far this campaign. Isn't that crazy?
Well, that is crazy.
I should probably work on that speech a little bit. But with the campaign in full swing, we did think it was a great opportunity to share with our listeners a little bit about who we are at United Way. And we want to make sure people understand that we are a problem solver. We try to take a collective approach. So we partner with over 30 different nonprofits, the government, the businesses, the private sector, you name it, different community leaders. And thank the good Lord, people like you listening at home who are volunteers who give of their time. So this really helps us to gain a deep understanding of what these complex issues are. And we do understand it's not United Way alone that's solving these, but that's the value of United Way, is that we bring people around the table to identify the gaps and solve them in the most efficient way possible. So someone driving the train at United Way, we have the president of the United Way Board of Directors, Dr. Steve Chuppy, in studio with us. Dr. Chuppy, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me, Jenna. And I think it's a crazy train.
It's a crazy train.
Yes, especially this time of year, but I enjoy it a lot.
So, Dr. Chuppy, you and your brother have Chuppy Chiropractic in town here, and you both have just been phenomenal volunteers and donors and community supporters. It's not just the United Way that you're involved with and that you've been involved with, but you do a lot outside of United Way as well. So thank you for everything that you and your brother do.
Well, thank you, Jenna. But it's something we enjoy doing, so it's really not a chore for us. We like being out in the community, and we have a lot of patients involved with different things, so it's fun for us.
Well, and I think people like the fact that you give back to the community that they live in and that you care.
Well, I think so, but that's not really why we do it so much. We do it because we enjoy it, and we do like the aspect of giving back. I feel like over the course of my life, seeing some different things with different family members and things like that, I've seen how others can affect their lives and improve them through different agencies, like many of the agencies in United Way.
Absolutely. So we were talking about this yesterday. Have you figured out how long you've been involved with our United Way as a volunteer?
Well, I didn't pin it down exactly, but I think sometime pretty close to about 15 to 20 years.
No
all
kidding.
Told. Very involved for probably the past 15.
That is just awesome. You're a loyal contributor as well as giving of your time.
Yes, we try to be. So,
Dr. Chuppy, what is it about United Way that has intrigued you, and how'd you get involved?
Well, that's a good question. I'd have to say that it wasn't anything other initially than just being asked to help with a campaign. Tim Hennessy, another longtime United Way supporter.
U.S. Bank president?
Yes, called me and asked if I could help out with one of the divisions in the campaign. And I offered that I would help, but I said the only way I would do it is if I had a chance to look through what United Way did, what all it was about, and I wanted to feel good about if I was asking people to donate, that I wanted to feel good that it was something that they should be donating to, that I'd looked it over thoroughly, and it was a good cause. And boy, it didn't take long for me to start peeling back the layers of United Way and seeing what all it does in the community. And it was a very easy yes every time I was asked after that.
Well, people may not realize that we operate based on good volunteers like yourself. Our entire campaign cabinet is filled with volunteers. So tell our listeners, what is the campaign cabinet, and what you do as a volunteer in that sector?
Well, the campaign cabinet essentially tries to identify all the potential donors in the community and just tries to get the word out about all the wonderful things that United Way does to help our agencies. And then they go to work trying to get donations from those people. And I'll tell you, it's a lot of work doing the campaign. I know it is for the United Way staff, but it is also a lot of work for the campaign cabinet. And it's just a lot of fun to see what all they do and just knowing how much effort they put into it. But as much work as it is, it's actually kind of fun too. It's especially fun when you're done.
Yeah, and I mean, it's really inspiring. As a staff member of United Way, I find it inspiring the amount of time and energy that those volunteers put in, above and beyond their everyday job. For me, this is my job, but for you guys, this is, above and beyond the everyday. So what is it? What is it that motivates you, that inspires you to?
Well, a couple of things. I guess, like I said, I've seen what all United Way does in the community, and I really appreciate that. But I don't tell many people this really, but I have a younger brother who's handicapped, and I see what all agencies have done for him along the way. And so from a personal side, it means a lot to me. I feel like I would do it otherwise, knowing what all United Way does. But it gives me a real personal feel for what the agencies do and all the volunteer work that they do as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And many people don't realize that there is a strong likelihood that someone they know or someone who's very close to them has needed United Way sometime in their life. It could be through the Red Cross, through having a fire in your home, could be through a family member. I mean, there's many people that don't even realize many of their colleagues could be victims of domestic violence. We gave a presentation at a local bank, and afterwards a gal came up to us crying because one of our agencies, she said, literally saved my life. So it's the power of United Way to really connect these agencies together. But it's also, how do we make the most of the donor dollar? And I want to get your input on that, Dr. Chuppy, on when we come back after break about, what is it about United Way that appeals to you as a businessman, and what helps other people want to become more involved. So we will be back in just a couple minutes here. Make sure you log on to our Facebook page. That's Facebook.com/MSAU Way. Give us a call if you want to get involved as a volunteer. That's 701-255-3601. And we will be back in just a couple of minutes to learn more from MSA United Way Board President Dr. Steve Chuppy. Welcome back to United Way's Community Talk. A special thank you to Mr. Jim Walsh at Super Talk 1270 and Town Square Media for donating this airtime. We are on air every other Tuesday from 11 to 12. And so if you have any suggestions, you have any comments, you have anything that you want to give to talk about, Scott, how do they get in touch with us?
You can find us on Twitter at MSA United Way. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/MSA United Way, or MSAU Way. You can also give us a call at 255-3601. If you have any ideas for topics, questions for guests, please do let us know. We'd love to hear your input.
The way we work at United Way, it's based on the power of volunteers and the power of giving back and everyone coming together to solve community needs. And so we would only be able to do that when good people come together to really try to make this work and make it the most efficient and effective way to give back. Later in the program, you will be hearing from Mr. Vern Dosh, the CEO of NISC in Mandan, North Dakota. Mr. Vern Dosh is co-chairing this campaign with Monsignor James Shea from the University of Mary and Paul Sukett, CEO of Basin Electric. So Vern's going to be talking to us about his role as the campaign chair and why people should choose United Way as their way to give back. But with us still in studio is Dr. Chuppy. And I have to tell you, Dr. Chuppy, Dr. Stephen Chuppy from Chuppy Chiropractic. Dr. Chuppy, as our board president, you have just done an outstanding job all year, as did your predecessor, Mr. Kraft. We should give a shout out to Mr. Terry Kraft at American Family Insurance. But it's interesting because I've learned so much working with you over the course of the last 5+ years at United Way. And I just have to thank you. Thank you for not only your leadership qualities, but for everything that you do to teach me and our staff and our community what it is that the qualities of a good leader. And one thing you actually told me that I just repeated last night to my foster child, I have a 14-year-old staying with me, is you said, Jena, I try to surround myself with good people. And I've really taken that to heart because that's what I feel like we are at United Way. And that's one of the benefits of being able to work at United Way is taking that opportunity to really get to know our volunteers and having the chance to be surrounded by such great people like yourself. So thank you for instilling that in me and also for living that.
Well, thank you, Jena. And I don't feel I deserve that level of credit, certainly, but I can say this for certain, and that is that being around the people at United Way, the staff, the volunteers, the agencies, there are just so many good people in there that it's really enjoyable to work with that. I serve on several boards and I enjoy every one of them, but United Way is so special because of the people in it, and that is entirely what it is. They are volunteer help workers, such good quality people, and I feel like it's really made a great impact on my life personally. I've really enjoyed working with your group.
Well, we appreciate the time that you give, and you had talked earlier about your role in the campaign cabinet, but you also have been a major player the last 2 decades at United Way in how those dollars are spent. And you've been on our community impact committees. Tell our listeners a little bit about what that means.
Well, when I had first looked into United Way, I wanted to see what they served and what all they did. And I saw the agencies that it served. I saw that all that it did. But as I got further into United Way, I was asked to serve on the allocation boards where we determine how the money gets spent and where it goes. And I've been so incredibly impressed with the people that have been involved with that. They are community leaders. They are very wise people. They understand finances. They understand how agencies work. And they not only look at the numbers and how those agencies have to affect change in our community, whether it be through providing food for elderly, whether it be providing domestic violence assistance, whether it be providing homeless shelter, those types of things. It just makes such a huge difference with what they do. And they make good decisions as far as where those dollars go.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not an easy decision to make. There's been times where you have been involved in having to cut agencies, and that's not fun. And it doesn't happen automatically. I mean, you try to do what you can to work with those agencies.
Yes, it's extremely difficult, but it's been rare, thankfully. But that we look really close. We don't only look at the numbers. We actually look at the agencies. We go talk to them. We see that the people that they affect and the people that they're helping. And we want to make sure that every dollar is spent wisely. For example, if someone gives $1 to United Way, what happens with that dollar? I want to know that. When I ask people to donate money, my name is on the line. I want to make sure that my reputation is strong for what United Way gives or what they do with that money. And I would say for every dollar that goes to United Way, at least $5 comes out of it, because that money is used against volunteer help. It's used to affect agencies that are really leveraging and getting by with not a lot of money, but they're doing so much in our community. It's incredible what they do with limited resources.
And there are programs like YouthWorks where Doug Herzog would always say, every dollar you give me, we turn it into 10 because I use my United Way funds as that local match for the federal grants. So it's multiplying, and it's the best investment for what you're giving.
That's a wonderful example, and in anyone that would go in there, that's really deep in my my love for United Way, really, because I've gone to YouthWorks and I've seen the kids that are there. I've seen the people that are there. I've seen Doug at work, and he spends your dollar really wisely. I would not be surprised at all if it was more than 10 that you get back from that, because he just puts so much energy into it. And with the dollars that they have, they can use volunteer help to come in and help. But they do need some dollars to run their organizations.
Yeah, absolutely. Recently you and your brother Greg gave to our endowment fund. Tell us a little bit about that decision.
Well, I normally don't like to talk that much about what we do from a giving side, but I can say this with some enthusiasm. Through the endowment fund, it really has allowed us to leverage the dollar further. For a $5,000 donation, there's a tax credit that we receive, and effectively, depending which tax bracket you're in, for the most part, you end up only spending $2,000. You donate $5,000, but with your tax credit that you get back, you essentially end up spending $2,000. And so it's like you're giving 60% more than what you really gave. So it's, again, a nice way of leveraging a volunteer or a donated dollar.
Well, and thank you for that, because with that 40% tax credit, you have the out-of-pocket cost, which is a third of what you're giving. And those dollars are going to be saved in that endowment fund so that eventually our goal is that the interest pays for all of the operations at our United Way. Quick question. We are so appreciative and of the people surrounding you, because we know it's not just a one-man operation here that you got going. Your wife, Deb, is a huge support, and she's done a lot of work behind the scenes. So I want to make sure that we recognize her and thank her for all of the support that she provides to you to be able to have you provide all of this time and help to us and many other community organizations.
It's really incredible how much behind the scenes work that she does for me. And I think anyone who does community volunteer work and things like that know how much a spouse does. She does so much for me, and I always joke that she's the brains of our operation, and she is. But a lot of the things that I'm sometimes unable to do because I might be doing some community things, she covers for me, and I sure appreciate that.
So do we.
We talked about having good people around you. You know?
Absolutely.
And she, for me, is the number one that starts with that. But when we look at all the good people that are in the board, like the volunteers that have been there for years, the people in the campaign cabinet, you folks on staff, it's incredible how much you do and how nice it is to be around such good people. It makes me a better person, really.
So for people out there who don't currently choose United Way, they might be very generous, they might give to other organizations. What's your approach? What do you want them to know?
It's very simple. Coming from a smaller community, I went to high school in Scranton. I didn't know what United Way was when I came to Bismarck. But when I started to see what all they did, how all they affected everything, it kind of it made me realize how important it was to use that as sort of a cornerstone of my donation plan and system. I think most of the people in our community are generous with their church, and they're donating to various causes that they appreciate. And once you get past your church donation, United Way should be absolutely right there. It affects so much of what our community does. It's so wisely spent. I just can't think of another organization that would more wisely spend every dollar that we put out there and how much change it affects in our community. So I use that as my cornerstone, And then the other things that kind of filter around it that are more pet projects, we still do that. But United Way is absolutely the rock that we start with.
Well, thank you, Dr. Chuppy, not just for your monetary donations, but of the time from you, from Deb, from your beautiful daughter, Maya, from everybody on our board. Thank you for everything that you give back through United Way. If you're listening out there, you want to get more involved, call our United Way office, 701-255-3601. Like us on Facebook. We have a lot of community needs posted there regularly, and you might be able to help directly to get a winter coat for a student in need or help to mentor and tutor some kids. We will be back to speak more with Scott Hansen, our co-host, and we'll be interviewing Mr. Vern Dosh. Come back in just a couple minutes. Welcome back. I am Jena Gullo, the MSA United Way Executive Director, and your host today for United Way's Community Talk. We are on Super Talk 1270. A special thank you to Town Square Media for donating this time, and a special thank you to Mr. Scott Hansen for co-hosting with me today.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great experience. It's one of those, I've been kind of pulled out of my comfort zone, but I appreciate it. Everybody needs a little tug out of their comfort zone.
You never know what you're going to do when you're at United Way. That's a nice thing. We have a very small staff, but we get a lot done. And the way we get our work done is through really good volunteers. We just had Dr. Chuppy, board president, over almost 2 decades worth of volunteer time. And I can think of so many others like Al Klein and, so many people that make our job easy, because they take on a lot of the work. That's how we keep our admin costs so low. Our last audit just showed that we spend 3% or so on administrative expenses, and we have 5% for fundraising, but many of those fundraising expenses are 100% covered by our premier sponsors, like NISC. Hello, Mr. Dosh.
Hey,
Thank you
Jena.
for joining us.
Good morning. It's good to be here.
So you are a premier sponsor, and so is the University of Mary. So, that's just really exciting for us because it really helps more campaign dollars to go back into the community and be allocated. So thank you for doing that for our United Way.
Glad to do it. And, from our standpoint, Jena, the way we looked at that is we're really trying to raise the awareness among our employees, help them understand the significance of the work that's being done here by United Way, help educate them about the needs in our community that are a bit stealth. And so as we talked about this, we said, if we're going to expect more of our employees, I guess we better set an example. And so that really was the reason that NISC made the decision to step up as a premier sponsor.
Well, thank you, Vern. And geez, talk about setting an example. You as a leader have it's been an honor for me to be able to work with you and to learn from you. Every meeting you run, every interaction you have, it's true servant leadership. So I just want to thank you for the opportunity to work together.
Well, you're too kind. And you know what? It's easy to be passionate about something like United Way when you believe in it. When you believe in the staff at United Way is extraordinary. You lead by example. This is about not just donating money to reach a goal, right? It's about dedicating your time and talents. And I listen to your stories about your foster children and things like that, and I'm going, oh my goodness, here is one of the busiest ladies that I know in Bismarck, and she's a foster mom, and she's given back, and I'm going, how great is that? And I can get behind that. I can get behind an organization that not just talks the talk, but walks the walk. The leaders within United Way, the staff of United Way, the board. You look at that board, the Dr. Chuppys, and it is a who's who. It is the salt of this community. And so when you consider all that, it's easy to get behind United Way. It's an easy decision.
Thanks, Vern. We appreciate it. So what were you thinking about a year or so ago when I called you up and I said, so, Vern, got a proposition for you. Actually, I think I told your assistant first. Didn't I tell Darcy?
I think you did.
And I said, Darcy, do you think he'll say yes? Do you think he'll say yes? Because I think it's so important that the people who lead our United Way are a reflection of the values that we have, and you are the perfect representation, along with a couple of your cohorts. So first, before we get to them, what do you think when I called you up and asked you to chair our campaign?
Well, if you'll remember, it took me a couple days to get back to you.
Well, you wanted to talk with Lynn. I
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
that.
But, the thing is, Jenna, I've been a passive United Way supporter for a lot of years. I think one of the proudest things I have in my office, or the thing that I'm proud of, is this little United Way plaque that I don't even know how many years ago I got it, but every year I put my new sticker in there, and I've run out of spaces for
Ooh.
the stickers, so
We'll get you a new plaque.
but
Coming
the point,
right up.
The point is, I've given money to United Way for years. That's been a part of our family plan, but I've not been involved. I've not, dedicated my own time to this. And so I think our family is like a lot of families. The kids were little, they were very active. It was really hard to carve out time, but today we're in a little different place. It's kind of an empty nest going, and
You're still one of the busiest people I know.
but how do you say no to Jenna?
Well, perfect.
How do you,
Good.
How do you say
I
no?
like
You
that.
call me and I'm going, doggone it, How do I say no? And really, talking about it and kind of sorting through it, we said, look, things that you believe in, you figure out how to make time for. And so that really was the reason that I finally picked up the phone and said, let's do this.
Well, we appreciate it. And then we also appreciate your support in recruiting some co-chairs. One was supposed to be an honorary chair, but I think he's put more time and effort into this. He deserves co-chair status, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. I mean, how great is it to be in a position like this and to be working with two of the people that I admire most in the community. I mean, Monsignor James Shea, is there a busier person than Monsignor Shea? Mm-mm. And when you and I talked about the possibility of asking him, and I thought, I just don't know if I can impose on a guy like this with a request, but let's give it a try. What do we have to lose? And the incredible thing was, I told you I took about 3 days to make a decision, right? Mm-hmm. I walked up to Monsignor Shea and I said, look, this is what we're doing. I need your help. I need you to be an honorary co-chair. And he looked at me and he said, okay, yes. I mean, just like that.
Isn't that awesome?
It wasn't something that he had to think about. And so I'm thinking, how great is that? And you're right. It's much more than honorary. I mean, the guy is engaged. He's at the meetings. He's adding, and it's so much fun. It's just so rewarding to be in the company of such good people. And Paul Sukut falls into that category.
Absolutely.
I've known Paul for 35 years and watched him grow in his career to today, one of the most prominent positions in Bismarck Mandan, running one of the most prominent companies, Basin Electric. But a guy with a schedule like that says, yes, we'll be a co-chair. So, I am just so fortunate to be surrounded by these giants of the community.
So talk about how you gentlemen assembled your cabinet, and what does that even mean for our listeners out there?
Well, I think, the first thing that I need to say is when you talk about the fundraising part of United Way, really the heavy lifting is done by the staff of United Way and by the members of the cabinet. And, so early on, part of our role as co-chairs was to make sure we have the right people in those positions, that the right relationships, the right history. And the good thing is that I'm guessing, Jenna, 3/4 of those cabinet members are repeat members. I mean, they're people that have been there, done that. They know what to do. They've devoted their time and talents year after year, and they just jump in and get it done. So that was kind of easy because they raised their hand and said, yeah, count me in again. There were a few new spots that we had to recruit. But I was amazed. It's the busiest people, the people that you are most reluctant to talk to, they're the ones that say, yeah, let's do this. And I'm so grateful for their selfless contribution of hours and hours of their time. Again, this isn't just about raising money or getting to a goal. This is about allowing people to invest their time, and that's huge also.
Yeah, so Dr. Hyder was one that really, it didn't surprise me because I know what kind of a person he is, but I've also been in his office where literally every other minute he's getting paged or called into other meetings or crises or questions from other hospitals. And so you and Dr. Hyder are really doing something unique in the healthcare sector this year.
Well, Dr. Hyder, practicing neurosurgeon, chief of staff, has a lot of physicians that report to him. His is a 7 by 24 by 365 world. But again, when we talk to him about this, I mean, he's in a position where he sees the needs in the community, probably has a unique vantage point of that. And as we began talking about how we would approach the medical community, which is huge in Bismarck-Mandan with Sanford and with St. Alexis CHI, huge. And we really wanted to approach it in a way that was collaborative, where we bring the medical community together to work for this common cause of United Way. And so Dr. Hyder in his network reached out to physicians at Sanford, and we're able to bring them in. And so this is a collaborative effort where these two very significant medical centers are putting their collective resources together and doing the right thing for United Way.
Well, thank you, Mr. Dosh, for your leadership, for really recruiting a great campaign cabinet, and also for inspiring your team to have an even greater, robust employee campaign. I know the other morning your execs were serving pancakes and sausage to the team with the free will offering. You're a premier sponsor. You had me come and speak to the group, which quite frankly was more terrifying looking into a webcam than it was just looking at people. I don't know. But really, thank you for everything that you've been adding to our community through United Way and for being our guest today.
Glad to do it. Thank you, Jenna.
We will be back in just a couple minutes. If you want to get more involved, if you want to be on Vern's team, give us a call at United Way at 701-255-3601. Like us on Facebook. Get involved. Respond to emerging needs in our community. That's Facebook /MSAU Way. We will be back here at United Way's Community Talk in just a couple minutes. Welcome back to United Way's Community Talk. I am your host today, Jena Gullo, and I also happen to work at the United Way. We have been talking with some fantastic guests. We had Dr. Steve Chuppy earlier in the show, our United Way board president, and someone who's been volunteering for United Way for decades. We also had Mr. Vern Dosh, the CEO of NISC. He's co-chairing our campaign this year with Monsignor James Shea and Mr. Paul Sukett. We live on volunteers. That's how we exist. That's how we get our job done. That's how we make our work so efficient. We only have 4 employees at United Way and 2 more paid by a grant. So our admin expenses are at 3%. That is incredibly low. We want to do what we can, not just on an individual basis, not just on an agency by agency, but collectively. What's the impact that we can have to solve some of the most pressing issues in our community and to really target those root causes? So people might not realize 1 in 5 children in Bismarck-Mandan are receiving SNAP benefits. That's the old food stamps. We have actually over 13,000 individuals in Burleigh County who access our food pantries every year. And when you look at our area, we have 27% of children who receive the free and reduced lunch at school, breakfast and lunch. So what does that mean? It means that there's a lot of families struggling with the rents going up. Yes, there are jobs, but even if you work full-time at Walmart or McDonald's, it's very difficult to make ends meet when you have a family. So we rely on people to address these hunger needs in our community. At our United Way, our Women's Leadership Circle started the United Way Backpack Program because nurses at the local schools came to us and said, kids aren't able to concentrate on Mondays. They're dizzy. They're coming to the nurse's office. Well, they weren't eating over the weekend. And so how valuable is it to make sure that kids aren't going hungry? So you can't do anything on an empty stomach during the school week if you haven't been fed. And I know this holds true because there's many times where I will have social services call me late on a Saturday night and they have not, the children have not eaten since Friday at lunchtime. So the problem actually does exist right here in Bismarck, Mandan, and it certainly is an issue that our community is compelled to be a part of. And we have some really good guests with us today. Some more United Way volunteers. They are outstanding overachievers at BHS. We have Sam Klosnitzer. Is that right, Sam?
Yeah.
And then we have Grace Gannon. Thank you both for being with me today. Tell us, what are you doing at BHS? Why are you here?
Well, we're doing this thing called Pack the Pantry, and it's going to be at the BHS High School parking lot November 1st from 10 to 3 p.m., and it's just, we're bringing non-perishable food items for people around the Bismarck area.
Wow. And so this is so that people don't go hungry in the Bismarck-Mandan area. That is just awesome. Where did you come up with this idea?
For our Key Club, we all started thinking of ways that we could help the community in not only Bismarck, Mandan, but also the North Dakota state. So that's what we decided to come up with this idea.
So you're asking the community to get behind this effort, right? What do you want people to do on November 1st?
Just come out and bring some non-perishable food items in the parking lot of Bismarck High, and we'll send the food to whoever needs it.
Yeah, and you said you're going to have pickup trucks there ready and waiting?
Yeah, we're going to have a few trucks that are going to take the food to places like United Way and stuff like that. So
That is just amazing. And so I know for our backpack program, there's certain items that we put in those backpacks. Like we don't want glass, right? Because kids, if they drop their backpack, that could break. What are some of the items you do want?
Like soup, cereal, peanut butter, like crackers, those typical things that don't go bad.
Yeah, non-perishable. And so if it's a bad weather day, you guys are also going to be in the gym?
Yes. If it's not very good outside, we'll be in the gym and you can just come on in.
Yeah, and you want to make sure the items aren't expired. I know for our national food drive with the Postal Service, you'd be amazed at what people put in those bags. It's almost like they're cleaning out the cupboards, but let's make sure it's food that we would want to give to our own children and that the dates aren't expired and that they're appropriate for kids to be able to make themselves. So what does that mean when you're talking about kids? Sometimes are they on their own? Do they not have, their parent might be working? So what are some items that might be kid friendly?
Just more like simple foods like peanut butter and crackers, maybe stuff like something that doesn't go bad that any kid could do themselves.
Yeah, like those Pop-Top cans are much easier because sometimes they might not have a can opener and might not know how to use one. Sometimes things that go in the microwave are good. But you're looking for crackers, peanut butter, pasta, soups. When we pack the United Way backpacks, we always put in meals to cover those days. And we just had Sanford Health. They covered last week where kids were off of school Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So they filled the backpacks up with nearly a full week's worth of food. And it was just awesome. We had over 20 volunteers pack them. So we invite you guys sometime to come down to our United Way office and get some backpacks filled with the food that you're collecting. Would you guys be interested? Your Key Club?
Yeah, definitely.
So why do you do this? I mean, there's a couple reasons, right? But what's your real motivating factor?
We just wanted to make a difference for not only the community, but for everyone around the state. Also just to help out everybody, whoever needs it.
It's so neat because I learned that you guys get service hours. And what does that mean? Why do you want service hours for this type of project?
We get the service hours for National Honor Society, so it kind of goes towards that, and it's just fun helping out people too.
Yeah, absolutely. And your advisor, Robin Nine, she's a teacher at BHS. She said that you guys will put in over 100 hours this year, probably on this project alone, and you do a lot of other community service projects throughout the year. We thank you. Thank you for doing this. A lot of times kids don't feel like they can make a difference, and you guys, you don't pay attention to that nonsense. You're really taking it upon yourself to meet community needs, and so thank you so much for what you're doing.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so thank you to Sam Klausnitzer and Grace Gannon from BHS, and also to their advisor, Robin Nine, for helping to make this a reality. We appreciate everyone. We are going to be doing our backpack program, and we need more sponsors. So to sponsor a backpack, it's about $5 per bag and $2,000 for the weekend. We had about 425 the last time we delivered, I believe.
Yeah, I think 427 was the exact number. But
427. Wow, thanks for knowing that. And so we do need businesses to help us to continue that program, make sure local kids don't go hungry. And these bags are delivered to elementary schools in Bismarck and Mandan. It was started by the Women's Leadership Circle. I mean, what a great way for people to get more involved in the community. To be a member of the Women's Leadership Circle, you do have to give at a level of 500 or more on your own, but you get to be involved in important projects like this, and you really get to spearhead the projects that are filling the gaps in our community. So, Scott, we do have an event coming up for the Women's Leadership Circle. Tell us briefly when it is and what it is.
yeah, Little Black Dress. It is a poverty awareness event. We'll have 50 women throughout the community wearing one black outfit for
Actually 66.
66 very generous women wearing one black outfit for an entire week, just to create awareness about some of the issues that people dealing with poverty have to overcome in order to find employment.
And so they're going to try to accessorize that same black dress, but the point is, how does it make us feel when we don't have many outfits to choose from, when we have to wear the same outfit? And many times there's a lot of our families that are struggling that don't have a lot of professional attire. Exactly. And so we are then having it dry cleaned. We're donating it to Seeds of Hope. That's one of our agencies at Abused Adult Resource Center, and trying to bring awareness to people who are struggling in our community. Our pancake breakfast is coming up, and that's another hunger-focused event.
Exactly, yeah.
It'll fill your
Sunday,
hunger.
October 26th, 1 week from this Sunday, we'll be at St. Mary's Central High School for our annual pancake breakfast. And it's just a great opportunity to come, stop by, find out what we're about. If you're not familiar with United Way, there'll be a ton of great volunteers there that would be more than happy to just chat with you and enjoy some great pancakes and Cloverdale sausage donated by Cloverdale.
And do we have a contest again this year?
Oh, and I almost forgot. We'll be having a pancake eating contest at 11 o'clock. We always have a Mandan hockey team there, and it's just a great time. It's a lot of fun. So come by. Come stop by. If nothing else, just come watch. It's
funny.
It is.
It's free will offering, so come by for some great pancakes, October 26th, St. Mary's Central High School, and talk to us briefly about an important award that we are giving out again this year.
Yeah, each year we give out Well, we have the great honor at United Way of sponsoring the Lifetime of Caring Award, and that is an award that really recognizes somebody who's dedicated a considerable amount of time to making Bismarck Mandan a better place.
So people like Sister Thomas Welder, Art and Grace Link have received it in the past, the late
The
Don
Borkies
Russell, Al Borky and
last
Linda.
year.
I mean, just people who we aspire to be like.
Exactly, and we are looking for nominations. So if you know someone who you would like to nominate, visit msaunitedway.org.
Yeah, and get those nominations in quickly. It's our board of trustees that make the decisions. And so if you know someone who represents the values at United Way, send in their name. You can find us on Facebook, Facebook.com/MSAU Way. If you tweet, we are on Twitter at MSA United Way, or just pick up the phone. Give us a call anytime, 701-255-3601. Have to thank our incredible guests today. Thank them not just for being on the show, but for everything they do. Is everything that you at home do for our community that makes our United Way great. We aspire to be a reflection of our community in the Bismarck, Mandan, and surrounding areas. If you want to get more involved, please give us a call. Thank you to Town Square Media, Super Talk 1270, and we will be back. We hope you'll join us in 2 weeks.